Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley and I lead Financial Narrative. I'm so excited to be here with all of you today. If you are new to Financial Narrative or not familiar with the organization, please check us out at financialnarrative.org. We are an organization designed for financial marketing and communication leaders. I know we have a lot of you in the room today and would love to see you at future events as well. Today, we're going to talk about building a strong brand presence on LinkedIn, which I know for my own purposes, for Financial Narrative, as well as for most of your brands, is really critical. LinkedIn really is one of the places where we see brands trying to build trust in CEOs, trying to build their reputation, whether it's a B2B or B2C market. And there are a lot of elements, and I've been spending a lot of time studying this with our speaker today, but there are a lot of elements that separate the finance brands that really dominate on LinkedIn for the ones that kind of just blend into your feed, right? So we're going to discuss today what really goes into the full content mix, the full strategy to make your brand unique on LinkedIn. And to answer these questions, I'm really excited. LinkedIn has shared one of their top experts with us. Regina Dowdwell is a senior content solutions consultant at LinkedIn. She is their in-house expert on content marketing. She's going to give us an insider's look at how the most effective financial services brands are showing up on this platform, both organically and in paid. Kind of what is the blend of what you should be doing to make sure that your brand is standing out. And I'd like to just make a note for our regular attendees. As you know, normally I don't ask presenters to talk about new products within their organization, but I specifically asked Regina to discuss a few things that were new from LinkedIn because I think they're things that a lot of our members wouldn't have heard of. So she's going to talk a little bit about some of those because I think they're really useful to our members. So a few housekeeping notes before I hand over to Regina, who is just an all-star in this. So she's going to ask some polling questions as we go through. Please type your answers into the LinkedIn chat, and we will be looking at those as we go. And then if you have questions for Regina throughout her presentation, please put them in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. We'll probably do all of those right at the end. So without further hesitation, Regina, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know where you are, but welcome. And thank you for spending your time with us. Thank you for that amazing intro, Ashley. Now I have to show up and show out because she pumped me up so much. But ready to speak with you all about financial services on LinkedIn. So we're going to talk about exactly what Ashley rolled out. How do financial brands win on LinkedIn? We know that it's an incredibly saturated market. We know that everyone is trying to differentiate themselves and stand out from the crowd. So I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks on how you can do exactly that. So first, just setting some foundation so you can understand why LinkedIn is the go-to for a lot of financial services brands, probably yourselves included. One is LinkedIn is not just a channel. It is where these financial buyers are building trust, they're learning, and ultimately choosing the providers that they want to work with. And so we know that about 50% of all ad-driven leads and deals are influenced by LinkedIn. So we know that this is where they're coming to do that research, find out if this is a brand that they actually should be working with, kind of get an idea of which of their peers are also working with these brands to help make that final buying decision. And this is backed by research. We know that we are influencing across the journey from discovery to decision. So 48% of marketing qualified leads are coming from LinkedIn, 53% of sales qualified leads, and 53% of new business. So LinkedIn really is an integral part of any content and marketing strategy, especially when it comes to lead generation. So today, we're going to break down the tips and tricks in these three different sections. One is going to be the principles of high-performing strategies. What needs to be a part of your overall strategy to really get your biggest bang for your buck on the platform? Then we'll talk about the 4 traits of high-performing financial content specifically. What are financial services buyers looking for? What really is moving the needle to get them to go from lead to conversion? And then lastly, how financial services brands are putting these ideas into practice. We can talk about theory and what should be done all day, but what does it look like for these things to actually be a part of the content strategy? So we're going to start with part one, which are the three principles of the high performing LinkedIn strategies. And like Ashley mentioned, I'm going to give you a couple of poll questions. So first, which principle has the biggest impact on marketing performance in financial services today? Are we thinking about data-driven decision-making, a customer-centric strategy, long-term brand building, or agile testing and optimization? We're going to come back to these after this section, but for now, add your answers to the chat, and then we'll get an idea of where everyone landed. All right, so I'm going to bring you to principle one, which is be always on, be always relevant. It really is about being remembered before you're needed. We have an internal research institute called B2BI, and we work with this 95-5 rule. At any point of your marketing journey and your content strategy that you're bringing into the zeitgeist, 95% of the people that you're speaking to are not ready to buy. They're not ready. So while by being always on and always relevant, by the time they slide into that 5%, they know who you are as a brand. They know what it is that you offer, and you've already done that groundwork to really bring them from consideration to conversion. We also know there's an uptick of 10% in conversions when a brand has that constant presence. Because by the time they get into these buying situations, think about the different entry points. By the time they get there, they know you, they know what you're about. You've built trust with this always on content. They're ready to make the move. And then principle two is trust travels through people. People want to hear from people. Brands, we want to build the trust of the overall brand, but if it's just coming from the brand page, people don't trust the logo as much as they trust a human. And so we do know that the most effective financial brands, they amplify the voices of their executives, their experts, their employees. The biggest thing that comes out of thought leadership when I'm speaking to different financial services brands is they think they have to tap into their C-suite. We know that those folks are busy. They may not be comfortable on camera, things of that nature, but it's absolutely fine to just tap into a subject matter expert. This could be the leader of the team that developed your latest offering. It could be someone who has a side idea that you all brought into the company and it's something that you're ready to offer. Really thinking about the expertise of everyone on your team and leveraging those voices. And we do see the impact on leads. There's a 20% uptick in leads when only 3% of employees post regularly. So if you have your people posting as you go, it really does increase that trust level and help bring people over as a lead. And we know that financial buyers don't want more information, they want clarity. I'm sure even as you're scrolling through LinkedIn, it can be information overload and things can get a little jumbled. They're not very clear about what these things can do for them, how they can leverage the products and services. They may not even know if they need the products and services that you're offering. So the more information and education and clarity that you can bring to the table, the more you're going to stand out from your peers and differentiate yourself. So a great way to do that, videos, quick explainers, and you're going to hear me say video at least 100 times today, so brace yourselves. But video is the name of the game on the platform. But videos and quick explainers, whether it's around brand awareness, what it is that you do, a particular product or offering, really letting people know this is what we do and here's how it can benefit you. Research and market outlooks. This is the information that we know financial buyers are actually looking for. They want to know what's going on. An executive POV. We talked about leveraging your employees and your executives to bring the brand to life. But the great part is to help them bring a different perspective or thought process to a topic that everyone's speaking about within the industry. And then documents, guides, case studies. The more information you can bring to the forefront, definitely the better. And then putting emotion in motion. So I told you we're going to hear video a lot. Here I am again. So telling your story through video really is a benefit. So this is a video. You all will get this when you get the deck afterwards. But imagine a wonderful video from Vanguard taking people through the story of what this product and this service can offer, showing real people in real situations actually being impacted positively by the offering that Vanguard has. And we do see a 20% increase in leads that are driven through video. And it really is about the storytelling aspect. A static image, you have different parts of what I call digital real estate to tell your story, but there's nothing like being able to watch it from beginning to end like you can with a video. And also creativity that grabs and holds attention definitely multiplies leads. We see 3 times more leads driven by sustained attention. So another video I want you to envision until you get the deck afterwards. But this brand watch video, it has different cuts. It has different people in different situations leveraging their offering in these different situations. And it really very similar to leveraging your employees to bring your brand to life. People want to see others in situations they may be in for that extra relatability. Those are the kinds of things that'll help you stand out. And so the bottom line is great marketing isn't necessarily about more content. It's about more effective content. But we know that 55% of marketers struggle with creating content that prompts that desired action. So it's about closing that creative conversion gap. Think about some of those principles that we just walked through. How can you be more creative with your content to close that gap and bring that creativity up a couple of notches? All right. So before we get to principle number 2, I want to see what some of your answers were. So I see that most people said long-term brand building. We had some responses with the others in long-term brand building. And I am going to say the answer is customer-centric strategy. Because if you think about a customer-centric strategy, all of these things fall into that category. Long-term brand building, absolutely. But you're building your brand by sharing a message that's going to resonate with your customers, as well as the data-driven decision-making. The data that you're getting is coming from people who are either already customers or potential customers. You're getting that data, and then you're being agile and optimizing. With your content based on those responses. So that customer-centric strategy really is the main thing that brings all of these aspects into the fold. All right, so now we're going to go to the 4 traits of high-performing financial content. So we have another poll question. So when evaluating financial content, which trait most influences its success? Are we thinking credibility and trustworthiness, personalization and relevance, educational value, or a compelling narrative? And these should all sound fairly familiar. They kind of we kind of touched on it in that last principle as well, but very similar to the last time. Drop your answers in the chat and we'll circle back to it at the end of the section. So we're going to talk about being distinct. The main thing about being distinct is making your mark. As the brand's name is mentioned in the creative, you do see performance uplifts. So we see a 64% increase when lead gen open rate when the brand name is mentioned. And we see a lower 54% when no brand name is mentioned. So it really is important to make sure that you are being very clear about who you are. I know that when it comes to LinkedIn and probably other platforms as well, the idea that the name of the brand is at the top under promoted and how many followers you have, et cetera, it's not enough. People are looking at the actual creative. So leverage your branding as much as possible. And this is also where we dip into what I like to call logomania. So your brand logo being present in the creative is a visual shortcut to that recognition and that trust. So it doesn't always have to be the full brand name, but your logo, if you have a particular shape or whatever is distinct about your visual identity, bringing it to the forefront is definitely important. And we do, again, see when that brand logo is there, we see a 64% lead gen open rate versus a lower lead gen open rate when it's not. The next highlight is to be clear. This is speaking directly to your audience needs and aspirations, direct call outs. And this really does come down to understanding your audience. The more you understand your audience, the more you understand their needs and can fully articulate what your benefits are and how they relate to the needs of those target audience members. So one is vision selling. So this inspirational messaging, helping them envision future success. Yes, you may be doing well now, but if you lean into this product or service, you can actually get here, kind of moving them from what's possible to actually taking action and moving into that next level of their business or even their personal brand. When these inspirational or aspirational messages are used, we see a 69% lead gen form open rate versus 60% when it's not. So just think about, what does my audience want? Where are they trying to go within their career, for their business, for themselves, and connecting your products and services with that future vision for them. And then the so what. When we're talking about clarity, it doesn't get any clearer than this. Being incredibly clear about, this is what we do, this is how it helps you, this is why you should fill out this lead gen form, contact one of our sales reps, etc. We see a 62% lead gen open rate when it's incredibly clear what it is that you do. And then a 54% lead gen open rate when there is no key message. And a recommendation here is also making sure that key message is aligned throughout your creative for this particular campaign. So it could be a particular tagline, it could be a way that you're verbalizing that benefit and that so what. It really is important to make sure that that's aligned. If people see multiple creatives from this campaign, it kind of drums the beat a little bit more, gets them to recognize what these benefits are, and a lot easier to bring them across the line as a conversion. And next is being human. We already said people want to hear from people, but it really is this psychological driver that motivates action. So human expression, different characters, positive emotional signals. These are the things that get people to move forward with a particular brand and help build trust. So one is what we call leads with feeling. Emotion does turn connection into conversion. And I know whenever I bring up emotion with my different clients, they're like, Regina, we don't want to make people cry, but there are way more emotions that you can tap into, one even being humor. Again, we think about inspirational and aspirational. You can tap into those emotions. So many emotions for you to choose from, but we do know when leveraged, we do see a 13% increase in leads when ads are more emotive than straightforward. And then thinking about that human connection, direct connection, facial expressions, emotions, all of those things really do convert. This is also why video is incredibly beneficial to your content strategy, because as you using video, you can leverage all of these different things, really bring the connection level higher and get people to lean in. But we know when a subject is facing forward, there was an uplift of 30% in engagement, emotion versus no emotion. So an uplift of 110% in engagement. And then happiness, of course, who doesn't want to be happy? We saw greater lead gen form opens than all other emotions. So many emotions to tap into, but happiness and laughter are the main ones that will really drive that connection and that action on the platform. And then contextual relevance. If you even take yourself out of the position of being a financial leader and put yourself in the seat of the buyer, Even you want something that connects to you. You want something that feels relevant. Very similar to what we were saying earlier, fully understanding your audience, understanding their needs, being able to outline the benefits of your products and services to those needs. That all ties into being contextually relevant as well, understanding how they're going to engage with the content and what's really going to drive them to action. The first one, always think mobile first. Over 86% of LinkedIn members are engaging with the platform via mobile. So whether you're thinking about the actual design of your assets, so of course thinking vertically because that provides that full screen experience, or even the creative aspects of your creative, is it something that's going to jump out of a mobile screen? Really thinking that through does benefit, because contextual relevance, right? You know that they're on their phones. You're going to create these assets in a way that works well on the phones and gets that full attention. So thinking about that thumb scrolling, what's going to get them to stop the scroll and pay attention? We do see an 82% lead gen form open rate when things are modified for mobile first, and 61% when they are not. And then grounding your creatives in reality. We do see a 10% greater lead gen open rate for a physical environment versus abstract or just a solid background. And this goes to something I said a little earlier. People want to see others in situations they would see themselves in. So if you are selling some type of workplace solution, show people in a workplace using your solution. You know, if you are providing some sort of financial platform for small businesses, show small businesses in action, actually using your platform. It really does help with that connection and really puts the reality into your creatives. And so we know that these buying decisions are shaped by impactful creative, repeated exposure, and trusted influence. So these are the levers that really build memory and multiply the effectiveness of your ads. So we're going to go back to our poll question. Would love to see what people were responding, how you thought about the questions that we asked, and I can pull it up if you'd like. Okay. So when evaluating financial content, which trait most influences its success? So we're seeing compelling narrative is the winner. So for this one, it's a little bit of everything. If we've listened to me at all, we really do see the credibility and trustworthiness is incredibly important, because that's what helps to build the connection. That personalization and relevance make people feel you understand them, your product or service is what they need. The educational value being incredibly clear, providing them with the information. And then that compelling narrative is what brings it all together. You have all of these things, but are you putting it forward in a way that people are going to stop, actually pay attention to? Is the information going to resonate and they actually want to lean in and learn more about what it is that you have to offer? Thanks for playing, guys. All right. So we are going to head over to our third principle, which is executive presence. So we've talked a bit about being able to leverage real people, bringing that to the forefront to kind of humanize the brand, build that trust. So we'll talk about how you can empower your leaders to become creators. So of course, this is our last poll question, I promise. We have, what do you think sets leading financial brands apart? Strong executive voices, consistent thought leadership, engaging video content, or strategic demand generation? You know the drill. By the time we finish this section, we'll come back and look at your answers, talk through which one feels right and why. So the reason why we harp on executive presence so much on the platform is because it is becoming a competitive advantage. And I'm sure if you open LinkedIn, you'll see it all the time. There are people sharing anything from their company how-tos to use a particular product or service. Maybe they're talking about the company's philanthropic efforts and what the company cares about. Maybe they're sharing market outlooks and earnings. But we are seeing 98% of Fortune 500 CEOs who use social media primarily use the platform. We do see an uptick in 52% of CEOs posting versus 2 years prior, and an uptick of 23% of CEOs sharing video content versus the previous year, which really is the kind of mind-blowing one for us. Like I was saying earlier, sometimes the C-suite executives are really busy, or maybe they're not comfortable in front of a camera, but people are getting more and more comfortable because this level of authenticity is brought into this content. There's no necessity to put on airs. You don't have to become someone that you're not. You are coming forward and sharing your expertise around a particular topic. It could be your company, it could be industry happenings, but because of that, people are getting more and more comfortable with getting in front of the camera, sharing that content, and the brands are absolutely benefiting from it. And so you want to extend the reach of the executive voices with that thought leadership video. And it's different from sponsored content video that you may already be doing. This lives on a single user's feed. So it's the actual executive, and it could either be the executive posting on their own if they're that comfortable, or giving someone within the company or whoever manages the brand page access to share these posts for them. But it's all about the authenticity, the organic nature, and really letting them just be them. Even when we're thinking about these, people hear video and think it has to be this highly produced, highly edited kind of asset. When it comes to these thought leadership videos, it absolutely does not have to be. Your phone and good lighting is more than enough to really get a good thought leadership video out there. And again, these are the things that connect to people because it is real. So of course, they're going to work with their team on the key messages that they want to hit. And, if there's anything that they want to drive people to afterwards, but really sitting them in their offices with the sun shining on them is a great way to get this content out and really get that connection with the audience. Because this is organic in nature, if it happens to get a lot of traction and really good engagement, you can bring it over to the paid side of your strategy with the thought leader ads. And so with that, it would just be similar to if the brand page has access to it to post it, they would have access to it to build it in a LinkedIn campaign, have it target particular folks that you want to bring into the fold. So this content can work in two different ways. It can be this organic trust building asset for you. And if it does incredibly well, it can actually be a great paid asset as well for you to start targeting different members of the LinkedIn community who may not already know who you are. And so we'll talk about how some of these financial brands are using video storytelling outside of the thought leadership, but really bringing the human, memorable, and accessible aspects to their content. So I told you I was going to say video so many times. If anyone's counting, let me know how many times I've said it. But it's because the rise of video on LinkedIn, we do see 41% increase in members posting videos, a 36% increase in video viewership, and 2x creation with video versus our traditional formats. And I think this is about probably digital as a whole, right? It's not just LinkedIn. We're seeing video everywhere. But what makes it really important on LinkedIn is we've always been seen as like buttoned up, suit and tie network, and people are getting more and more comfortable with just being themselves in this video format. So we love to see more people leaning in to really share these videos, bring that storytelling to the forefront on a platform like ours. And when it comes to the benefit of video, it drives both attention and action. So it's not just people posting more videos just because. We do see 3 times engagement versus those traditional formats. and a 35% increase in click-through rate for 7 to 15 second video content. So we call that 7 to 15 seconds our sweet spot. It is where we see people are actually engaging and taking the actions that you want them to take. So that's why the videos that you create are so incredibly important, because what action do you want them to take? Make sure your video is taking them on that journey. You have a strong call to action at the end, because if you do hit this sweet spot, they will take that action. And then context absolutely matters. We talked about that a bit, the contextual relevance. But LinkedIn as a whole is a trusted environment for video in general. So thinking about some platforms, it may all be AI, or it could be people sharing false narratives in their videos. We have been ranked as the most trustworthy of the main video platforms because we are a trusted environment where these videos come. So you're not just creating video because everyone else is doing it. You're not just creating video because it's getting the attention and the action. It's also creating video on the LinkedIn platform because LinkedIn members are going to trust what's coming out of your mouth, which helps lead to those actions for that lead, those lead conversions. And then when it comes to financial services, there are many types of videos that really are moving the needle on the platform. Very similar to one of our other sections, that executive POV. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that was created net new. As you see in this example on the left, it could be one of your executives was featured somewhere, a podcast, a news reel. They could have been at an event. This is also a great way to give your events a longer tail, bringing some of those videos into your LinkedIn content. But anytime you have an executive sharing a POV about topics that are important to your audience, absolutely bring that video into the sphere of your content strategy. And also research explained. When we were talking about being clear, we talked about bringing research and thought leadership into the fold. Why not have a video introing that thought leadership to then drive people to download it and get the full information? This is you humanizing the information. It's bringing people into the fold in a way where they feel comfortable. I know that some of these white papers and things of that nature can feel a little overstimulating. It's a lot of information. So having a human actually explain the base points. Here's what you're going to get out of this research. Here's why we decided to do this research. Here's the link for you to click and download it and read it at your time, is a great way to bring them into the fold without being intimidating. Another is definitely brand storytelling. So being able to tell who you are as a brand, who it is that you support, the benefits that you offer, incredibly important to bring that forward in the video form. And it is definitely making a wave when it comes to financial services buyers on the platform. And then lastly, educational. Not everything needs to be a report. Not everything needs to be full research. It could be a quick hitting educational idea that you want to bring to the forefront. Maybe the company is getting a lot of questions around a particular product or service. Maybe there is an offering that's being laid out and you want to explain it a little bit to really make sure people get the gist of what's being offered. It's incredibly beneficial to have one of your subject matter experts or executives just explain it really quickly. Or it could even be market changes, something that's top of mind for your audience. Things are happening, they don't know how to navigate. You can have someone come forward and explain, how they can navigate it, what this looks like for them, etc. And then thought leaderships. Being able outside of just video to bring your expertise to the forefront. So with a lot of the video, it could be this individual executive has this many years of experience and they're bringing that to the forefront. Your thought leadership allows the brand itself to say, this is the research we've done, or these are the insights that we have and know are working, and bringing that to the community on the platform. So you can boost engagement with your audiences, sharing educational, inspiring content that they can read, download, etc. In a couple of those examples I talked about in the last area, That's what those explainer videos or educational videos can drive to. Longer downloadable content, and that's a great lead generator as well. Put it behind a lead gen form before they can get the full content. So you can do it through educating. You can also do it by building authority, sharing these in-depth insights and specific POV and positioning as an industry leader. So this could be through articles, this could be through a regular newsletter that one of your executives could do, and it could just be a state of affairs. This is what's happening in financial services right now. This is how I view it with my 30 years of experience here. This is how I believe it's going to impact you. This is how we're navigating it on our side as a brand, really building authority, showing that you have your finger on the pulse of the industry to help build that trust. And then another way is to measure audience interest in your content. This is kind of a bit of a cheat code, if you will. So you can learn how much of your document is read and downloaded to really see how interested are they in this content. So this can take place when you're actually leveraging a document ad. So a document ad is you taking, maybe you have a 20-page report that you want to share. You kind of get the juiciest 3 to 5 pages. You put it into a document, put it forward on the platform, get an idea how far in are people going? Are these the juiciest tidbits? Or if people are clicking into your document after the first 2 pages, you know that those first 2 pages contain content that they're interested in, and it can help inform your strategy and other assets that are created from it. So really being able to take that long form content and use it in all of these different ways to support and optimize your content strategy. And so when we're thinking about document ads too, what great financial thought leadership have in common? They are helping buyers understand, like we said, whether it's the markets, the industry as a whole, different products, trends that are being noticed, easy to consume, visual, because even if it's a PDF that you're uploading, remember, we're still thinking about that contextual relevance. It needs to be something that's going to grab their attention creatively on a mobile device, really get them to lean in, and scannable. So when we're thinking about uploading these different PDFs, we're not uploading them in full. That's a lot of text, not a lot of imagery. The pages should be designed, really showing this key point, why it's important, key point, why it's important, making it very scannable for people to get the gist of what it is that you want to say, but entice them enough to lean into the longer content. And then worth sharing. Is the information repeated from things that have already been discussed within the industry or even on the platform? What strong POV are you bringing to the forefront? What new insights about a particular vertical or industry point that they may not have heard of before? And useful takeaways. The things that we see that really land on the platform are what people can take from here to execution. They want to see things, they want to read things, they want to engage with things that they are going to be able to take back to their teams and actually action on to optimize those strategies. So make sure that you're providing useful takeaways that can actually impact the audience members that you're targeting. And then here are just some document ad examples. So remember, not just uploading the PDF, but making sure that the imagery is something that can grab the eye. Remember, we said upping the creativity factor. Is it going to be attention grabbing? I know that if you were to open LinkedIn right now, what color is it? It's navy blue, it's gray, it's white. So these brands have all used colors that kind of bounce away from that. So it stands out in the feed. It's giving you a really quick snapshot of what that document is going to tell you, and then allows you to go through, get those juicy tidbits of information, and hopefully click through to the larger document. And then capturing intent. This is incredibly important because the best demand generation doesn't interrupt. It is in the flow. It doesn't feel disjointed. It just creates this very clear value exchange. So one of the formats that we talk about with that is through sponsored messaging. And you can even leverage some of this long form content we've spoken about in this section within your sponsored messaging. You can say, hey, I am this person, and I am so excited about this research that we just released. It tells you XYZ. Click here to access it, right? So you are directly connecting with your target audience. You're very clear that this is an audience who would benefit from what it is you're sharing and getting them to engage with that content. So it could be playbooks, guides, research, market outlooks, etc. Or it could be really great for events and experiences, webinars, executive roundtables, conferences. You could share a quick sizzle reel of the last one to really get them going and engaged, or personal outreach. This is where it kind of moves to the conversation ads a little bit. Very tailored invitation. This is someone who maybe engaged with some of your content in the past, so you know what it is that they need, what they're interested in, what they're looking for. It's this interactive experience with a relevant follow-up. So you ask the question, hey, we saw that you engaged with XYZ. Is this something that you're interested in? They get an option to click yes or learn more or reach out to rep. So really having this automated conversation that is specifically tailored to this audience is a great way to connect and just drive that value exchange to bring people over as conversions. And so when it comes to those conversations, we see a 48% increase in open rate with a job title macro. So again, it's understanding your audience, right? Showing very clearly, you know who they are, because then they're more willing to believe that whatever it is you're offering does benefit them because you know who they are and what their role is. We also see a 21% increase in click-through rate when the company name is the macro. Again, that personalization, that relevance really does resonate. But we see an outlining of the benefit. Here's what we can do for you, outlining their pain point. You may be struggling with XYZ. Here's what we have to offer. The relatability. We know that in these times, this is what you may be coming up against. And then your spiel. And then that personalization. We know that you've interacted with this content before, would love to go deeper, provide additional information, etc. The bottom line with all of these high performing points that we see in conversation ads is that you are putting the audience member first. The LinkedIn member that you're getting in front of, you're putting them first. You are outlining benefits that help them. You are outlining pain points that they may be experiencing that you have a solution for. Relatability, you understand them. You're trying to move them past wherever they are to the next phase. And that personalization. I know you. I know what you're dealing with. Let us help you. All right. So lead gen forms are another great way that we see people implementing these areas that we discussed today. We talked about lead generation, how these actions can increase leads, but it really is about, are you leveraging the right way to grab those leads? And lead gen forms are the best way to do it. As soon as they click on that ad, it takes them straight to the lead gen form, so it reduces any friction and keeps them on platform. We do see a decrease when people are driven off platform to complete a lead gen form. So make it as seamless as possible. And then you can connect whatever you're using on the back end to the lead gen forms on LinkedIn, so you can capture that info. And matching the value exchange. So whatever it is you discussed in the content that you use to drive them to the lead gen form, make sure that's brought over here too. You would be so surprised by how many people are speaking about one thing in their advertisement, and it's very disjointed by the time folks get to the lead gen form, and none of you will be surprised. That means that lead gen form doesn't get completed. And then also visually maintaining the continuity. Again, avoiding any disjointedness. If you use a particular type of imagery in the advertisement, use that at the top of the lead gen form as well, making sure that things are aligned. All right. And so just to sum up, the modern financial services content mix is about bringing things across these kind of roles that we have here. So if you're going for a goal, content experience. How are they experiencing your content? Is it mobile friendly? Is it creative? Is it outlining their benefits? Bringing that to the forefront to really get that engagement and conversion that you're looking for. You want to build trust, leverage those executive voices. Do you want to establish expertise, bring thought leadership to the forefront? Do you want to increase awareness, brand storytelling, preferably with video? This is the last time I'm saying it, I promise, but preferably with video for your brand storytelling. You want to generate demand, your offers, your campaigns, that very clear value exchange. And if you want to stay top of mind, being always on. Before we wrap up, we're going to go back to our polling question. And I see that the winner is B, consistent thought leadership and all of the above. You guys figured me out. It was definitely all of the above, because all of these things that we've talked about for the past 45 minutes or so are so integral to your financial services content mix, to an optimized content strategy. So smart ones. But thanks everybody for joining me today. To download the full presentation, you can scan this QR code and enjoy the videos. Oh, I said I wasn't saying it again. Sorry. But enjoy the videos, and I hope this was helpful and you had something that you could take back to your teams to implement. Thank you. Oh, you're muted, Ashley.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm going to run this whole video through my AI to see how many times you said video, and then now I'm adding a few to the situation. Well, okay, so we have quite a few questions that are really specific to finance and trends that you're seeing within finance. So I'll start with kind of a broad one from my friend Ashley, who asked, what do we see as a trend that's specifically unique to financial services in contrast to other industries? Financial services is a weird industry. So would you say is unique?
I would say it really is that thought leadership, which is why I wanted to spend a good amount of time on that towards the end. The thought leadership trend is really what is pushing a lot of financial services content forward. Like we said, it could be research, it could be playbooks, it could be putting your executives and subject matter experts out there. That really is moving the needle, because we are in a time where financial services isn't particularly trusted right now. And so the more you can humanize who you are, what you offer, show that you do want to help your target audience members, it really is making the bigger difference. So thought leadership in all of the forms.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so that brings me to then, how do you recommend selecting thought leadership candidates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, who goes on stage, who doesn't go on stage? Is it always your CEO? I mean,
yeah, it doesn't always have to be, right? It really does come down to who is the right person to speak to this. We have something that we like to call a trust triangle. And so first, it is this person's authority. Do they have the authority to speak on this topic? Is this something that they've been doing for a long time? Have they had success in this area, etc.? The other one is empathy. Are they able to articulate whatever that key messaging is that you want them to bring across in a way where the audience feels like this person cares about me and does want me to succeed? That's why they're sharing this. And the other part of that trust triangle is logic. Is it based in logic? Are they pulling out insights? Are they pulling from research? Where's this information coming from? So the best person that you have for whatever the speaking engagement is, or whatever the content campaign calls for that you want to bring forward, whoever the best person is who can hit those 3 points of the trust triangle is your best bet. It doesn't mean exhaust everyone in your C-suite with every speaking engagement. I mean, certain ones are going to be for higher level folks, so that's when you kind of bring them out. But it really is about finding the right person for that topic and audience that you're speaking to.
that's great. And that brings us around to the inevitable. I mean, because we work in finance, measurement is our gig. We love numbers. So, when you're thinking about measurements, a lot of times, especially when it comes to thought leaders for an SME or for an executive, this question is from our friend Chadwick. The question is, in some cases, it's really hard to measure the performance of that content, especially when reach and impressions can be somewhat obscured. How do you recommend reporting on those pieces?
Yeah, so and this is where we were talking about if someone else has access to that person's profile, really being able to go on the back end and say, all right, this is the reach, this is who it got in front of, et cetera. And then, like we said earlier, maybe then you put it as part of your paid strategy so that you can get that full-fledged measurement and it went to a targeted audience. Because of course, with organic thought leadership, it's kind of a say it and spray it. It's we hope the right people see it, but you can then bring it as part of your paid strategy, have it targeted, get that full measurement. That's when it comes to individual thought leadership. When it comes to your longer form thought leadership, we recommend putting it behind that lead gen form. That's when you really do get that full measurement. It is what we were talking about with the document ads. You can see how far people clicked. So how relevant was it? Or you can say, okay, they went this far and then they filled out our lead gen form. So you can get better measurement when you're bringing it over as part of your paid strategy, which we highly recommend for your long form thought leadership content.
Absolutely. Well, so shifting gears, you mentioned very early in the presentation, you talked about being always on because you mentioned that, most of your buyers are not ready to buy at the exact moment that they're being hit with your content. So how on do I have to be always on? Like what qualifies?
Yeah, and I know this can be scary. People are like, do you want me to post every 5 minutes? No. But always on is, anything from that like 3 to 5 times a week, right? And it could be, and this is why there are so many types of content that you can share. It could be a poll where what's top of mind for you all right now? It could be a brand video, it could be a little bit of anything. And this is organically, not your paid strategy. But when it comes to organic content, you're sharing everything. You are sharing who you are as a company, you're sharing ins and outs of your employees, you're kind of mining for intel around what people want to hear about to help inform your paid strategy. You're sharing thought leaders and that kind of thought leadership content and a lot of brand storytelling. Not always has to be video, but a lot of brand storytelling because the point is for people to know who you are, what you offer. The reason why the always on is also so important is people want to work with brands who are aligned with them, values aligned, focus, etc. So your always on content allows you to bring that to the forefront. So like you said, once they do get into that buying situation, they slide into that 5%, you're already top of mind and on that short list.
Love that. I love that. Okay. So not every 5 minutes. We're
Not every
clearly not
5
doing that.
minutes.
I mean, some of us could. Okay, so this audience, and I'm looking at the people who are in these audience, and I know that some of them are very B2C focused, some of them are B2B, some of them are a little bit of both. But how do you distinguish when you're working, especially on LinkedIn, for the B2C audience versus the B2B, and kind of how you differentiate in terms of the types of content or the types of work that you do for them?
Yeah, people are always surprised. It's not a huge differentiator, to be honest, because even when you're working with B2B, you're still speaking to a human. You still have to appeal to a human. We're not speaking to brick and mortar buildings. We are still speaking to humans. And so the same way you would need to connect with a direct consumer, outline the benefits, why you versus the other guy, etc. It's the exact same way you're speaking to that buying group for that business that you're trying, or that key decision maker for that business group that you're trying to bring into the fold. I think with B2C, depending on the products and offerings that you have, you can probably have a little bit more leeway and be flashy with the creative that you're putting forward, et cetera. But the foundational aspects of it, the who you're appealing to, bringing the benefits to the forefront, making it relevant for them, it's the same across the board.
Absolutely. I think that ends our questions, which is actually right on time so that we can finish up our session before everybody has to go to their next Zoom meeting. But thank you so much, Regina. This is a really great amount of information. Next up, just a few items to keep in mind. For those of you who are not already Financial Narrative members, please be sure to go check out financialnarrative.org so that you can sign up, because we have a great slate of fall events. First off, we have our AI search series. I know AI search is one of the things that is super top of mind for a lot of our members, how to make sure that you're appearing in those searches. We are doing an entire series, both online events and in-person events in New York, to make sure that everybody's up to date and knows sort of the latest research on that. You'll see 3 or 4 different events for that in the fall. We're also going to be hosting our US Fall Summit on November 5th at Nuveen's US headquarters in New York. And we have in November, late November, November 24th, our London Summit as well. So wherever you are in the world, we have something for you. Do look at financialnarrative.org. Thank you so much, Regina, and our friends at LinkedIn. I know this is one of the most important topics that we have, is really building our relevance on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for giving us sort of the insider tips. And if you had a question that didn't get answered and you want me to send it over to Regina, don't hesitate to send me an email. I will share it with her. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.